Connecting vents, cooling, and heaters. Let's talk about for the Captain 8. We get a lot of questions on how to connect items, and here we've got an example that we just got into for 2 vents, 1 cooling, and 2 heating. By default, it comes set up for 3 low voltage vents. And what does that mean? Well, right here you can see the low voltage vent number 1, 2, and the only difference is we have these bus bars we install. If you have a bus bar installed, and they're going to come pre-installed for 3 vents. So if you only have 2 vents like here, you can see the 1 and the 2, and you want to use the extra outputs for something else, you actually have to take these bus bars out and trim them off to make them shorter, so that these only get connected to the vents. And it's only if it's low voltage vents. Otherwise, you don't use them at all. So here we'll go over the setup for 2 vents, 1 cooling, and 2 heating. Right here is the configuration you need in your setup menu. The number of vents needs to get set to 2. The vent starting relay needs to be 1. The number of fans equals 1. The fan starting relay equals 5, because when we say fan, that's actually cooling. So you actually look here. Here, this 120 volt shutter is actually, we're calling it a fan because it's cooling. And you can see the wires are hooked here, and that holds out to number 5. Number of heaters and the heater starting relay. So the number of heaters is 2. You can see 2 heaters. And this is 7 and 8. So the starting relay is number 7. And we had 2 heaters, so that goes 7 and 8. And I'll go over how to wire this. Low voltage vents. You just line both of their wires right here on the bottom screws. You just extend these. There is a limit. You can't extend them more than about 200 feet with 10 gauge wire. So you got a limit on how close the control box needs to be to the vent motors. And you just extend their leads right into here. And vent 1 is 1 and 2. Vent 2 is 3 and 4. And we have that pre-assigned. So going on to the shutter motor, how do you wire a shutter motor? These little 120 volt shutter motors, they don't take much electric, so you can run them right through the board. So here, this would be your neutral wire. This one wire going straight in there would be neutral. This other one would be your hot wire. You bring the hot into the top of number 5, and the hot, then whenever it activates, the hot will come out of the bottom and over to your shutter motor. And that's how you power the shutter motor. You can hook 2 or 3 of these up before you overload these. These relays, you have to watch out for your total maximum current. There's a rating on the side, and the ratings are kind of a little hard to understand because they're going to have 2 numbers on them. One is so many amps, and the other is so much of a motor, because what the difference is how much it sparks when it starts. Different equipment sparks more or less, and it depends on a variety of things, but motors always spark a lot, so you can't run as many motor amps through there as you could for an electric heater amp. So you got to really be concerned about how much it arcs. And the other thing, this is actually relay 7 and 8 for these heaters. These are much smaller and they're not replaceable, so you can hardly, these are down to like a 3 amp load, and these are 5 with an override. And these yellow ones you can replace if you mess up. The black ones you can't. So 7 and 8, you can't replace them. So that's why the heaters are always on 7 and 8, because this is just a control circuit for the heater. Because you can see here, the heaters just send a control circuit voltage to the controller. They do not have a big manly load going through them. Because here you can see the wiring. This is the power wires going to the heater, and then just a control circuit up to the top, then out the bottom whenever it's activated. So that's how you wire the heaters to the Captain 8, the shutter motors, and the vent motors. That's the overall idea what you got to do for when you have 2 vents, 1 cooling, and 2 heaters. Technically, you could add another. We have an empty one, and number 6 is empty. Nothing's hooked up to that. That could be used for something else, such as a dehumidifier, or another heater, or lights. So program within the control unit's very the control unit's very versatile. You can just like reassign any app for an unused relay as long as you're not using that app elsewhere. So it'd be real easy to make that 2 heaters, but you can't have a heater here and a heater here and then have a dehumidifier in the middle. You have to keep each item right by itself.